Hey guys, it's me, Scotty. Today we're watching Acceleracers, one of the greatest movies ever made. I've been watching these movies since I was 6 years old, and it's just as good as I remember. Body proportions are super realistic, and look at the feet.
Are you ready for the race of a lifetime? HotWheels get set to roll. Rev it up, shut 'em down, pass the red line. Gotta be the best if you wanna win it all. Acceleracers. HotWheels keep you alive. Acceleracers. Live to drive, gotta
Before we crack open the masterwork that is Acceleracers, we first have to look at what came before it. Highway 35 World Race. This 2003 animated sci-fi thriller is what started it all. The film sees the underdog Vert Wheeler join a diverse roster of drivers under the leadership of the mysterious Dr. Tesla. They explore alien dimensions, defeat the evil Galorum, and eventually claim the Wheel of Power. But since they got the Wheel of Power, the portals to the alien dimensions won't open again.
Highway 35 is more than just a place to race. It's like a fire inside you.
Highway 35 is a test. That's why the Accelerons built it, to see if we were ready for this.
Eventually, they decide to put it back, and roll credits with Smash Mouth. The movie is still super entertaining because of its wackiness, not in spite of it. It shaped the way I played with toys and became a movie fan. Now, as an adult, I look back on it with fond memories and enjoy its surprisingly entertaining storyline and production. But the cinematic Hot Wheels saga did not end there. In 2005, Mattel Entertainment graced our screens with the Acceleracers series, and with it, a new level of bonkers. 4 episodes, each an hour long. A few years after the World Race, the main characters are divided into 2 rival street gangs, the neon-lit bass-boosted Teku and the hardcore steel-welded Metal Maniacs. An Acceleracer-level threat has arisen, and Dr. Tesla brings the band back together once more. The elite drivers must work together to defeat Galorum's racing drones and get back the Wheel of Power before it's too late. As a sequel, Acceleracers expands this fictional world with new characters, new technologies, and a bigger scope. It's way grittier with higher stakes and some heavy material. Needless to say, I was legitimately scared to watch Acceleracers as a kid. So rev it up, shut them down, and pass the red line, because we're going straight into what makes these films so entertaining, from the character dynamics to the science fiction elements, and of course, the music. This is Hot Wheels Acceleracers. Acceleracers may have been my favorite thing as a kid, but I'm an adult now. Can something this old and tainted by nostalgia still hold entertainment value today? Heck yeah, it can. The plot and story developments are absolutely ridiculous, and it's better for it. The secret ingredient? Emotional baggage. We'll begin with Nolo Passaro, the leader of the Teku.
The Deku don't escape. We drive.
He holds a serious grudge against Torquematics. Not just because he's the leader of the Metal Maniacs, but because he supposedly killed Nolo's brother.
No! Oh, holy cow!
It's a character death.
Then you have Kurt and Marky Wilde, who had a falling out after getting involved in a drug deal. Kurt got out of it scot-free, but Marky got 2 years. So you have a grief-stricken rivalry and brothers with a history of crime in a movie made for children. What could possibly go wrong?
Marky?
Oh, what?
The name is Wild.
What?
That is a lot of baggage and maybe some red flags, but trust me when I tell you, it's worth it. The conflict in these characters, both internal and external, is fascinating and makes every single scene in these movies more interesting. What makes it work is the slow unraveling of each person's backstory. At first, all you know is that Nolo hates Torque for killing his brother, but later on, you see this same flashback from a different perspective.
It wasn't my fault. Was it?
Despite Nolo's insistence on fighting, Torque decides to be the better man. What of the Wild brothers then? Well, they go back even further to the first movie, where Marky was an amateur and Kurt was working for Galorum. At first, you know that Marky has changed based on his attitude and his physical appearance. Then, it's implied that Kurt was responsible for his prison sentence. It's not until the final episode where they lay all the cards on the table. Ambiguity, if done right, makes the viewer more invested in the movie, and the payoff is extremely effective here. You don't know who is telling the truth, and neither do the characters on screen. So at times, it's up to the viewer to decide who is in the right and who is in the wrong. Those who make it to the final episode are rewarded with a satisfying conclusion. Speaking of ambiguity, we have to talk about the silencers. At the start of episode 3, it is revealed that they can disguise themselves as other vehicles, drive up walls, and become invisible. Their identity and intentions are unclear, but we do know that they have been entering the realms and manipulating both the humans and the drones. This wrinkle in the plot adds a fantastic element of mystery. Heavily burdened characters aren't everything, though. There are plenty of traditional characters like the one-liner champion, Taro Katana.
I'm gonna pass.
I'm gonna pass you.
This time with a hideous makeover.
Wait, that's Taro?
Yeah, that's Taro.
What?
He's the silent heroic type, often taking big risks to do the right thing. His recklessness does cost him, though. After being forced to start over a realm with less than 20 minutes before it closes, he has to learn restraint to save his own life.
You can make it, Taro.
But we have to stay focused on maintaining control when you hydroplane.
Let's do it.
Karma Ice is another one of my favorites. Karma doesn't care about gang rivalries or Tesla's exploits. Instead, she's motivated by skill.
These racing drones, what are they?
Robots, built for driving.
Are they any good?
They're robots. They're perfect.
Perfect.
Monkey and Porkchop are also great. As longtime buddies, they provide an appropriate amount of comic relief, as well as a rare case of male characters opening up to each other about their insecurities. Then there's Scirocco.
Yo, let's pump up the bass line.
Scirocco has no character motive other than to jam out to his music, and it's hilarious.
What?
His speakers are cleverly mounted on the exterior of his car, much to the annoyance of the Metal Maniacs. But Scirocco doesn't care at all, because he literally can't hear anybody. The only time he breaks character is when a drone takes away his sound system.
Yo, get out of my space. Oh man, there go the subs.
He embodies the Teku culture and lives for music. It doesn't matter what craziness is going on around him, because Scirocco is busy living his best life.
Hey, Teku, come on, get in.
Yo.
Before we can go any further, I think we have to address the animation, because when you choose CGI as your medium, you have every advantage. There are no limits to the scale of the sets, artists can choose whatever lighting conditions they want regardless of the time of day. Choice of color and camera movement are literally at the animator's fingertips. So when you choose to make your characters look like this, it raises some questions. Why does Torque look like a croissant? Why are Vert's hands suspended above the table? Why are everyone's feet so big? Yes, the character models are ugly, but they get the job done in most cases. What's funny is trying to show these movies to my friends. They find the character models appalling, and I can't blame them. We're so used to seeing animated characters with idealized proportions and squishy faces. Not to suggest that these aren't idealized proportions, but you get the idea. Don't get me wrong, this looks way better, but you have to consider the constraints of the project that influence the outcome of the product. The studio was likely pressed for time, and had to work with a small staff and budget, as this was, at its core, a plot to sell more toys. The animation is nowhere near as good as Pixar, DreamWorks, or Blue Sky's offering at the time. time, but wasn't bad at all for a product placement B-movie. It certainly could be worse, and lots of scenes are genuinely striking. If there's one area where the animation really excels, it's in the art design of the racing realms. Wide establishing shots show that these alien worlds are distinct from one another, and packed with world-building details. Deliberate use of color is another highlight. The drone world is bathed in matrix green. The Metrodrome has an eerie orange bloom effect, and opaque purple heightens the mystery behind the silencers. You get car jokes like Monkey slapping a drone with his windshield wipers, or Porkchop opening a door. That's hilarious, and justifies the use of CGI. The fact that these movies look good some of the time is commendable, but commendable doesn't cut it for most people these days. At least it stands out. I think that a lot of modern children's animated movies are too inoffensive and come across as uninspired. Just because they're for children doesn't mean they can't explore various tones and themes. Anyway, I really should change the subject before this becomes an Illumination roast session. You know what everyone likes? Music. Oh, yes. The music in Acceleracers, it's like if a team of researchers came together to make the most unbelievably catchy music possible.
Come on, give it all you got, 'cause when the tough gets going, it's the weak that gets dry. Come on, you know we make crazy, smash anything in our path, crazy. Come on.
Whenever the drones are on screen, they're scored by a sinister minor key. Teku get a synth-heavy dubstep, and Metal Maniacs get their signature heavy metal guitar riffs. Every bit of action is elevated by perfectly timed background music that crossfades seamlessly between scenes. It's like the films have a musical language that adds an extra dimension to the experience. If nothing else convinces you to try out Acceleracers, watch it for the music. I'm serious, it's an absolute bop. If you ask me what makes a movie science fiction, I would say that science has to drive the story. There's a grab bag of classical science fiction elements in Acceleracers, and we're going to look at each of them. Extraterrestrial encounters, or more specifically the lack thereof, is a driving force in the plot of the films. Aliens built the racing realms and opened them for humans to drive on. These aliens' intentions aren't clear, nor do they show themselves. Eventually, it's Karma who figures out the purpose of the racing realms.
The drones are mastering specific skills every time they go into a racing realm. And maybe that's the whole point of the realms.
No, the point of the realms is to win the Acceleracers.
And the only way to win is to identify the skill for each realm and master it.
Not only does this justify a sci-fi film based on cars, but once again, it makes great use of ambiguity, further encouraging the viewer to stay in their seat and watch the next episode. Alien encounters in sci-fi movies always result in humans learning something new, and Acceleracers is no exception. Futuristic technologies like speed-boosting Nitrox 2, tires that adapt to different terrains, teleportation, rocket boosters, and the Mega Base make an appearance as well. These gadgets look cool, and they represent an arms race between each faction. For example, adaptive tires were reverse engineered from the drone cars. The emergency driver return, or EDR, can bring back a driver to the real world at the speed they were going when they pushed the button. You see that Tesla can only bring back the driver in an emergency, but the silencers can bring back the entire car, hinting at a future revelation between Tesla and the silencers. No time is wasted explaining how this fictional technology works. Instead, the focal point is how the technology is used. This rule also applies to the Accelerachargers, which the drivers can win by being the first to complete a realm. The Accelerachargers grant lots of magical abilities, but it also creates this incentive to be the first through the finish line. Lastly, one of the most prominent sci-fi elements in Acceleracers is humans interacting with artificial intelligence. Obviously, the racing drones provide a Terminator-style uprising, but Tesla's robot assistant Gig is the standout in my opinion. Gig is a sarcastic robot that floats around and helps Lonnie and Tesla run the Accelodrome. In the original movie, he was the one that suggested that Tesla recruit drivers in the first place, and his near death convinced Tesla that the Wheel of Power held too much power for one person. In Acceleracers, Gig has much more of a personality, providing input wherever he sees fit.
Dr. Tesla is reluctant to confide in anyone, even those he should trust.
Although Gig claims not to have any emotions, it's likely a guise to hide his true feelings toward Tesla. I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say that Gig has a really cool plot twist and stays true to his android persona through his final moments.
I just wanted to remind you that I am not human.
Out of the way!
A year ago, I talked about how the original movie was just one part of a larger transmedia experience. In addition to the movie, there were comic books, a video game, and an exclusive line of Hot Wheels cars. Acceleracers adds playing cards and Hyperpod toys to the mix. Alright, let's look at some of those toys. Every car from the movie has a toy counterpart. These are my cars from when I was a kid. What stands out to me about these Hot Wheels cars is how detailed the prints are on them. You don't really see that as much in modern Hot Wheels cars. Here's one of the Hyperpods. In the movies, these were large vehicles that would carry a car along with them. I've got every one of them here. This is the dual driller Hyperpod that could drill through vines. The Slam Ram Hyperpod does not obey conservation of mass whatsoever. Alright, here's one of the more complex Hyperpods. As you can tell, it's seen better days, but it still works. The Dragster Hyperpod is pretty cool. It gives the driver a massive speed boost. Here's the Climber Hyperpod, first seen in the Junk Realm. It could climb over debris in the movies. My personal favorite is the Caterpillar, which has an articulated body that adapts to the terrain underneath it. And then, the big one, the Sweeper. Yes, this is the coolest toy ever. The drone sweeper works just like it does in the movies. Push the lever one way to sweep up the cars, and push it the other way to shoot them down. Finally, here's the Swamp Realm track set. It has a motorized booster and 2 intersecting tracks. It's a timing challenge to get your car to defeat the swamp monster before time runs out. You can also connect the track to any Hyperpod, which is really cool. And that's what I think is great about these toys. They allow you to recreate scenes from the movie without them being too shoehorned in. Like, the Sweeper is a plot device, since it allows the team to travel to the drone realm. Overall, an impressive toy line. There are many complex relationships that make Acceleracers interesting, but it's Vert Wheeler's relationship with himself that remains the focus of the series. In the original movie, Vert is a self-assured underdog that eventually proves himself. Everyone loves a classic underdog story, but they tend to be cliché and a little unrealistic. In Acceleracers, Vert has a rude awakening when he realizes that the racing realms are much more dangerous than Highway 35, and that even good actions have consequences.
I'm a liability now. I just put them in more danger.
At his lowest point, Vert gives up and leaves the Accelodrome. It's relatable because I've been there before, and the weight of a failure can be overbearing. What happens next is a defining moment for Vert. He comes back to the Accelodrome once more to do right by himself.
I left because I didn't know if I could beat the drones.
And now you think you can?
I don't know. But I can see now that I was wrong to quit trying.
What's being conveyed here is that showing up is half the battle. Vert is still unsure of himself and makes lots of mistakes. But the important thing is that he's doing his best.
I'm gonna finish this race.
He isn't magically a racing god now, but his presence is still valued.
You earned this, not me.
We've all earned it. Now get out there and win another one.
That is a positive message. The hardest part about being an Acceleracers fan is that it didn't get a proper ending.
All right, next tape. Hey, wait a minute, what happened? What happens next? Come on, let's see the next episode.
That's it.
What?
The show was canceled after that.
That's right, Acceleracers was cancelled, or at least cut short. There's all sorts of rumors as to why this happened, but the bottom line is, you don't get to see some of the characters complete their character arcs. Which leads me to Kadeem. I have a bone to pick with Mattel Entertainment, because they did Kadeem dirty in Acceleracers. In the original movie, Kadeem came all the way from North Africa to drive in the world race with hopes of winning money to support his village back home. He learns that it's more important for him to be a leader for his people than to go off and do other things. But when they brought him back in Acceleracers, they retconned that development and turned him into a killer robot. What was the point of that? It was shocking to be sure, but they could have done so much more with it. Then again, a final movie could have helped complete his arc. It's honestly a tragedy that Acceleracers never finished, because it ends on a phenomenal cliffhanger. To add insult to injury, Mattel later created a new animated series called Battle Force 5, with absolutely zero connection to the original story. This has left me and the rest of the Acceleracers fandom in a state of anguish. Seriously, nothing would have me more hyped than the announcement of an Acceleracers remaster with a proper finale. Will we ever see Vert and the gang come back for one final race? Well, We won't know if we don't try. That's right, Acceleracers fans. I'm talking to you. This is a call to action to do your part in bringing back the franchise. And how does one resurrect a dormant franchise? By making it popular, of course. I want to see Acceleracers become a huge meme farm. I want to see people posting clips of the movie on TikTok. Need something different to watch with your friends? Give Acceleracers a shot.
What the?
I should have expected this. The two motorcycles trick.
What is going on?
A whole city with no restrooms. It's like being in New York.
Hey.
I did not.
An AI upscaled 4K version is available for free on YouTube, so there's never been a better time to try it out. Go forth and spread the good word of Acceleracers. Until then, we have 4 amazing movies to keep us company. I'll be the first to admit that there's more than a little nostalgia at play with how I remember these movies. There's definitely some poor animation, and if you poke holes in the plot, it kind of falls apart a little bit. Acceleracers may not be a cinematic masterpiece after all, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a hell of a good time. That's all I got for you guys. See you next time.
Machine.
Stay focused, Vert. Junkrat, gotta hit the... When I hit